When I moved to Los Angeles 11 years ago, most of the corporations that I called on were uncertain as to whether Drexel Burnham was an investment banking firm or a furniture manufacturer.
John hired me in July of 1985 at Drexel Burnham's corporate finance department in Beverly Hills. After Drexel, I think he tried to coach soccer for the kids for a little while. I'm pretty sure Kathy kicked him out of the house as a result. He came back to work and really started what was our credit business. He would always take a moment before we approved a transaction and just ask everyone if it was the right thing to do. And no one did that. John was special. And who else could play at this level of business in his 40 or 50 years and never have a bad word said about it?
I learned so much from John over the years. Besides, the basics of, corporate finance and investment banking and all the work that we did, I learned a lot from him just as a human being. And he really helped me grow because obviously I teamed up with him at a very young age.
What I'd like to tell you is a story that I think epitomizes John Kissick. I think it was 1984. I was probably 25 years old. I was sent out to refinance the MGM casino after the fire, one of the most interesting financings. And I wrote a detailed investment banking memo. And I remember Herb Batchelor started the meeting. He said, "By the way, who wrote this memo?" It didn't sound good for me. I was very nervous. John was sitting next to me. He said, "I did." Herb Batchelor then said, "I just wanted to say it was one of the best memos I've ever read." At which point John Kissick said, "In that case, Ken Moelis did." John's first instinct was to jump in and take the bullet.
One day I walked into the bathroom. I mean, there's John Kissick. His sleeves are rolled up, and he's wiping down the sink. It's splattered. I said, "John, what are you doing?" And he said, "Well, this looks terrible. What if a client comes in?" Guy runs the office, has a national reputation, and he's cleaning the sink. So it taught me no job is too small. Whatever it needed to get the job done, John got the job done.
John was a wonderful mentor. I found him to be extremely supportive, a man of his word, and someone who I enjoyed spending time with.
John was one of the most amazing empowerers of younger people that I have ever seen. He never let inexperience stand in the way of giving us responsibility.
Being next to the trading floor, the high yield floor was really terrific for us. The interaction with the salespeople and the traders and analysts, it was a great community.
He cared deeply about his employees. He was a great leader, and he cared deeply about his clients, but not so much that he would do things that were irresponsible. He cared more than anything about making sure that the deals we did were good deals. He understood that our franchise really rested with our investors, that if you did good deals, the rest would take care of itself, but that if you did bad deals, you could ruin the franchise quickly.
He was honest. He was kind. He believed he was on a mission of goodness. He cared about his clients. He cared about all of us. And he made a huge difference at the organization. He made a huge difference in my life. I'll always be grateful for him.
When Mike had to step out, John stepped into the high yield department as a stabilizing force and as a powerful and energetic and charismatic leader that we needed.
He cared deeply about Mike. And Drexel at that time had really abandoned Mike. And we had a hearing back in New York where I asked John if he would come and possibly testify, which was not in his best interest. In fact, it put him at risk because the government didn't want anyone that was at Drexel to still have a relationship with Mike. John didn't care. It's one thing to be a friend when the needs aren't great, but when you have to put yourself in jeopardy for somebody and you do it, it tells you what kind of person he is.
everyone says that all you have is your reputation, and we all do our best to live our lives that way. But John really was just, a giant among men.
He always appreciated each of us as individuals and tried to understand what our strengths and weaknesses, capabilities were, and coached us every day, every year, across many, many years.
To really make an impact, you had to drive leverage. Use your network, use your influence to help bring other people into the fold. John was a master of that, and when he got involved with Cedars, obviously he built the Sports Spectacular into something very special.
My dad has a bigger heart than anyone I know, anyone I've ever met. He's dedicated endless hours to this community and those in need, and he's worked incredibly hard to make the world around him a better place. He's the best role model and dad we could ever ask for, and we love him so much. Love you, Dad.
Our dad, John Kissick.
We worked together over 30 years to raise $35 million for the Genetics Institute at Cedars. He loved sitting at his table with Ryan and Casey and whatever athlete was sitting there with him. That was just, he was beaming. It was always a great night.
John really planted the seed for me to really get involved with Cedars-Sinai. But John was an inspiration. He was also incredibly thoughtful about his giving and about his philanthropy, always very methodical about it, as he was about everything.
He was supporter of all things Stanford. The Kissick family has many scholarships at the GSB, but what John delivered was not just a scholarship, but the absolute commitment to the athlete itself. And I really think it's wonderful that Kathy, Ryan, and Casey continue those values and represent John in the next generation of the Kissick family.
He believed so much in young social entrepreneurs that he had supported over the years, that had good ideas and were interested in pursuing them, that he ended up writing the first check ever to get Care Message started for $10,000. And for me, that was manna from heaven. And the Kissick Family Foundation has continued to be an incredible supporter of Care Message. But more importantly, John has been instrumental in my own personal development as a leader.
There's only one John. He truly had a tremendous impact on who I am as a person today. And John really allowed me to be able to go above and beyond. And I'm just so thankful for him.